Nation. The hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews. It's your number one source. Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
What is up, everybody? Episode 253. Today we are joined with Matt Peek of Parkside Cards. They do some great releases, and they've been around a few years here. We're going to learn about the birth of the company, where they started, where they're going, the difficulties of being a smaller card manufacturer. But like Matt says, he's living his dream every day. And I think if you've been a collector in this hobby for any length of time, you've kind of always thought in your mind, right? What if I owned a card company, or what if I produced my own cards? How would I do it? What I wouldn't do, what I would do, what I would do differently, right? We all have at least thought that in brief moments, but Matt's actually living that. We're going to learn all about what he does, and he's a collector as well, and inspired from being a collector. So we're going to learn about kind of what he still collects besides being a card manufacturer.
It's time to start the show. Let's go.
Hobby News Daily is your homepage of the hobby, providing original writing, exclusive gem rate data, a daily morning minute podcast, and some of the best content creators in the hobby. Remember, hobbynewsdaily.com and at Hobby News Daily on social. Happy collecting!
Hi, this is Pat Hughes, Cubs announcer, coming to you from the Sports Card Shop in beautiful New Buffalo, Michigan. The Gocher family has built an incredible place here for collectors to buy, sell, and trade cards and memorabilia. Be sure to stop by and let them show you around. TheSportsCardShop.com, connecting sports, athletes, the hobby, and collectors around the world.
Hi. This is Alan Pinkett, and I'm here to tell you the Gocher family has done it again. They've just opened up the Sport Card Shop in downtown Valparaiso, Indiana, and it is awesome. If you're a collector, you need to check this place out. Tell them Alan sent you and get a free gift on your first visit.
Excited to be joined by my next guest on the Sports Card Shop guest line. It's Mr. Matt Peek of Parkside Cards. Welcome, Matt.
How are you, man? Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for making some time. I know you're busy. You're a dad. You obviously got Parkside, so you got a lot of irons in the fire, as they say. I know, we all have like that first pack of cards that kind of roped us in to the hobby. If I'm not mistaken, yours was 1986 Topps, and you pulled a Cal Ripken card, and the rest is sort of history. As a young man, did you think like, hey, someday I want to do this and make these, and I can maybe do it better or do it my way? Was that when did you ever think along those lines, or not necessarily?
No. Like nowhere along the process of anything pre-Parkside was Parkside an idea. We conceptualized it, my business partner Eric Christensen and I, in a moment of just the realization of a void. I always loved trading cards as a hobby. Couldn't stay away from it for any substantial amount of time. College would pop into a trading card store every now and again. Moved out to Los Angeles from Maryland, Walmart, Target. I'm in Burbank, California, which is, Burbank Sports Cards is a stone's throw away from my home. So I've been blessed and cursed, that Rob and Ryan are just right around the corner. So it was ever present. And having a daughter made me hyper aware of the growth of women's soccer which, I already knew it was huge. I grew up with a Title IX athlete in my house. My sister went to Penn State pre-varsity women's soccer and is one of the athletes that forced the university to make that change. So, just kismet, the way the world works. You just kind of sometimes have to follow whatever path is put in front of you. And thank God I did. And thank God I could convince Eric to do it, because here we are having the time of our lives.
Yeah, no doubt. We're going to talk about, I know you're very philanthropic and you do a lot of stuff for other people and you help out in that respect. You've had licensing with various leagues, as you mentioned, the NWSL, Major League Lacrosse at one point, Big Three basketball, fan-controlled football, the Negro League Baseball Museum. For those that don't know, you probably make it look easier than it is, but kind of talk about sometimes, the logistics. You don't have to give away the secrets, but, in working with leagues and partnerships and licensing, some of the difficulties that go along with that.
I don't know that there's any proprietary secrets. Everybody's individual. League licensing is adhering to a set of rules and standards and doing your very best to make sure that you're representing your partner in the absolute best light. And if they have an agenda or initiatives, really responding to them in as fast a manner as possible. It's a collaborative industry. It's a collaborative business. It has to be. If it isn't, you sort of start to see, some of the unfortunate stuff that might be rearing its head these days in some places. It's honestly, it's like, I can't understate this and I can't overstate it. It is ridiculously fun. Like, to wake up every morning, walk in the office and be like, we're making trading cards. We're representing these like dynamic, ridiculous athletes that are, so powerful and so inspirational to so many people across the country and across the world. I think if you just remember that, like at the core of the whole thing, what you're doing is you're chronicling and creating a historical, template for fans to remember this moment of time, then it becomes easy. It becomes easy to adhere to all your rules and all the initiatives that are put in front of you. There's no grand secrets into it at all.
Yeah. No. It's well said. And you're speaking from experience, and no one can argue with experience. You kind of touched on kind of the current landscape with the big folks, if you will. You got started in this, Matt, as a collector, like most of us did. So you sort of have, I'm sure, a fondness to whatever brands. For a lot of us, it's Topps because they're the biggest one. Kind of your thoughts, on kind of what's going on now, where you're seeing, now that Fanatics has acquired Topps, they literally want everything. I've said this on my show. I think having more people doing stuff brings out the best in everybody. I'm old, and from Brooklyn, New York, so I have a fondness of Topps the way it was. Obviously, times change. We're talking many years later. What are your thoughts on where the hobby's going when it comes to, Fanatics licensing and them kind of wanting to get as much of the pie as possible? Do you view that as good, bad, maybe a little bit of even both?
I think so. Everything evolves. Everything changes over time. There are some irrefutable truths when it comes to Fanatics. They are amazing marketers. They are amazing growth engineers. And so everyone should be incredibly optimistic what the wizards and their marketing gurus can do with this thing we love. I do think competition breeds innovation. We talk about it internally, you need to have multiple entities existing in a space or you'll get stagnant. It's just it's the way the world has proven itself over and over again to work. I don't know that Fanatics wants everything. I don't know that, there isn't a future in which they consolidate and become collaborative across other companies and other entities. I do understand, they're investing a lot of time and resources. And so they need to make sure that they can satisfy those investments. And I don't think anyone can argue with that. I think right now is the best possible time to remain incredibly optimistic, because thus far it seems like they're shining the light on all the good stuff. And I'm really, really fond of that.
How much of what you do at Parkside is obviously you're internally driven, you come up with your own, but how much of it is like, hey, I don't like this that goes on, I'm going to do it, kind of in other words, something you don't like or mistake or perceived mistake, and you say, hey, we're going to do it this way because I think it's better. How much do you take from what else is going on with manufacturers and all?
We pay attention. There are things that we've decided to draw a line in the sand regarding. Listen, we're most known for the NWSL. And that was really the genesis of where Parkside comes from. We started because of Eric and myself having soccer playing daughters who were watching NWSL games on I forget the name of the cable channel at the time, but it was I think it was Lifetime, and loving it. And so here we are now. So in our 2023 product, we finally made an NWSL relic. We made one, and we only made 111 copies of it because it's a pair of shorts. And we put on our blog that here's the shorts before we cut them up. These were given to us from the team from this game. And, people seem to respond very favorably to that. We don't want to just do relics that a player maybe touched or wafted past. It seems disingenuous. That's honestly my biggest gripe with the hobby these days. I just bought a box of Allen and Ginter because I'm a collector. I always will be. I have 2 hobby boxes I buy every year that go back to, one hobby box that goes back to probably 1988. Allen and Ginter since it came out. Now I buy WNBA Prism, and I also will buy the Topps UEFA Women's Soccer because, I got to support them for making women's product because it's awesome. But I bought that box of Allen and Ginter, and I got 3 relics in it. And I wasn't happy about it. The rest of the cards were awesome. But, the relic thing is something we draw the line at. We spend a lot of time and resources trying to do on-card signatures for as much as possible. We wholeheartedly buy into this notion that when a collector gets that card out of a pack and they're touching it, there's a moment where they realize the player touched this. And there's an exchange there that the players have no idea about, but the collector does. And at the end of the day, who are we here to serve? The collector. So those are our 2 biggest things. The rest of it, we're trying to figure out the best way to put the most product in the most hands every day of the week. And there's some trial and error to that.
You launched in 2019, but obviously stuff was happening before you officially launched. Was it harder than you expected? About what you expected? Looking back now and launching a new card manufacturer, was it more difficult than you thought? I mean, everything has a degree of difficulty, but how would you gauge it sort of in retrospect?
It was everything I thought it exactly would be. It was, phone calls. So again, beautiful thing is I get to split this down the middle. There's, Eric, he and I are sitting across the table, calling people, writing emails. There were a few pretty please, why won't you just say yes moments. We had a couple, crap or get off the pot moments ourselves. It was exactly as hard as it needed to be to make that first pack of cards go out, which was 2019 Major League Lacrosse, be like the most ridiculously satisfying thing ever. And then when we finally got the NWSL, because this all actually starts with an email in 2018 to the NWSL, who, to their credit, said not yet. They didn't say no. They just said not yet. And that gave us all the energy we needed to get to 2020, where we finally got the NWSL license and got to make a product celebrating the players of the league. So if I think about it really hard, maybe I'll go back and be like, yeah, man, there were some days that were lean and tough, but they have all faded away to memory to just that first box of lacrosse, the first time we looked at proofs of the NWSL, the Negro League Baseball Museum set we made in 2020. You know, there's so many victories that anything that could be considered complicated or difficult has faded away. I remember them when it comes time to start working on another project. Boy, do I remember all the mistakes we made too. Goodness. But I choose to just look at all the moments we've gotten to celebrate along the way.
You mentioned that 2020 Negro League, the draft class set, which actually featured, I don't know, you know, some people may realize it, but I'm going to clue people in. I think you know where I'm going here. First card, a Jordan Walker and Mason Wynn. I mean, you know, speaking to that, obviously, especially with Jordan Walker's, he had a pretty decent year, showing a lot of promise. Was that more luck, or was there some skill there?
It was
with
totally fate. So that set was, you know, we met this amazing guy named Jay Caldwell. Jay Caldwell was a Negro Leagues baseball historian, and he was making a trading card product with an artist, Craig Krindler.
Craig Krindler's been on the show, and it's funny you mentioned, not to cut you off, Matt. Just a quick aside here. They did the book together. I'm actually reading it, literally, not as we speak, but currently. And you know, so yes, and Jay Caldwell's, like you said, a Negro League historian, and Craig Krindler's just an amazing artist. So, but just not to cut you off, I just wanted to kind of. Yeah,
so
yeah. Go ahead.
Glad you know who Jay is. So yeah, we met Jay. Jay was just this amazingly interesting guy, and we're talking about it. And he's like, you know, it's the 100th anniversary, and we're like, no. And he was like, yeah. And so we sat down and started thinking, like, how would you celebrate that, and how could you create a modern baseball card product that would pay homage to the Negro Leagues, to the history of, you know, unsegregated baseball, pre Jackie Robinson. And so we just kind of cooked up this really simple idea where we would go after the players of color from the 2020 Major League Baseball draft, because, you know, 100 years ago, none of them were getting drafted. None of them were getting signed. They would be getting on a train going to one of the many Negro League teams. And so that was basically the idea. We started calling baseball agents that represented the players, and I think every single one of them said yes within a matter of moments. And we made a baseball card set, and we're so proud of it. And, you know, I look back and I would say probably about every 2 weeks, I check every single prospect to see how they're doing. So it was great to watch Jordan Walker's meteoric rise. Mason Wynn is superhuman. I'm holding out for Ed Howard. There's some great upside in that product for long-term hold. But I also just think it's a really cool trading card product, baseball card product.
Time for a quick break, but we'll be right back.
Are you a new sports cards collector or someone returning to the hobby? Maybe you're just looking for a friendly, trustworthy hobby community to hang out with and enjoy collecting. Midwest Box Breaks has been bringing collectors together for many years with affordable breaks, helpful threads, and a Discord group packed with generous people who genuinely care about the hobby and other collectors. Check out the breaks at MidwestBoxBreaks.com. Our goal is to bring you as much value as possible. Also, find us on Twitter at Midwest Box Breaks.
Also, remember to check out Midwest Box Breaks Marketplace for breaks, packs, and single cards from over 300 trusted sellers. Apply to sell today at iso.gg/Midwest Box Breaks.
Iron Sports Cards is your #1 source for all your PSA and other grading submissions. Their elite status improves turnaround times. Heck, they even provide the card savers. Their chat rooms provide updates on all your submissions. They also offer wax options and single cards to cover all the bases. Check them out on Facebook at Iron Sports Cards Group or on the web at ironsportscards.com, or even give them a call at 1-877-IRON-PSA. Rob's got you covered.
Let's go! You are listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast.
I got to ask you, I'll put you on a little bit on the spot here. I mean, you know, might we see another baseball product, you know, somewhere in the future, or really an opportunity for anything you want to share, or something maybe coming up the Turnpike Parkside wise.
We have a lot of things that are constant. So let me take a step back to answer that question. So Eric, my partner at Parkside, he comes from television. He was producing reality television. We're based in Los Angeles. So his previous life to Parkside was producing TV. My previous life from Parkside, before Parkside, was I was a comedy writer, and I decided to go into the restaurant world because apparently I'm a glutton for punishment. So when we got together, we started looking at how do you develop product? How do you look at this in terms of it being a long-term, sort of repeating business? And we've always kind of had this sort of subtle nod to television development. So we have projects that are in development from 2020 that are still going. They're, sometimes you just got to work on something for 5-6 years before you feel comfortable enough about moving forward with it. Baseball is a place we are desperate to go to, but I'll let you in on a little something. We really like softball. Man, do we like softball. We'd love to get into American football. There might be some opportunity there. We love the NCAA stuff. There's so many sports and so many athletes that are overlooked, but they have huge fans, huge fandoms. So there's a lot that we're working on. Hopefully by the end of this year, we'll have another cool thing that we'll tell everybody about. But next year, I think, is going to be a really big year for us. I think we'll be ready to push a couple things out. One of my dreams, I want to do the single greatest multi-sport product ever, because I love them so. I love Allen and Ginter. I love what Panini does with when they did the Golden Age. I love what Upper Deck does with Goodwin Champions. I think all of those products are so cool. And I think I can absolutely make 1,000 times better product personally, because I'm weirder than anybody that works on that stuff. And I have a much stranger mind when it comes to things that I think might work together.
You think outside the box, and like I asked you, even like sometimes seeing others do it, you say, man, I can do that better. Or, hey, I would have did that rather than this. You mentioned a multi-sport product. They've been around, the first one I think of sort of in my mind, is remember the classic 4-sport back in the day in the early 90s and that sort of thing. And look, at the time it was very cool. And then when you kind of look back, you're like, it's not as cool as it was then. It's sort of, it's the bloom, a little bit of the bloom comes off the rose and that sort of thing. But that's the one that really comes to mind first. I think I'm older. I'm pretty sure I'm older than you, Matt. So I
bought a lot of boxes of that, my friend. I wanted that Shaquille O'Neal autograph, and I never pulled one.
That's Then they had the gold sets where you can get you guaranteed the Shaq. I wound up. I never pulled one either, but I cheated and bought a couple of the gold sets back in the day. I think they were numbered to the 8,500. So I got 2 of those.
That's one of those cards that's on my checklist of when I walk around show tables and stuff. I'm looking for stuff. That Shaq Classic is on my checklist. That and the 91 Brian Taylor Topps autograph. I want one of those so bad. That was, man. I think we were told that card. If you had that card, you were going to be a millionaire.
The pratfalls of prospecting. And that works the other way too, but there's probably more of the misses than the hits, and that's why even with the set you did with the Negro League Baseball Museum and those first cards of in particular those 2 players so far, and still we forget that it's only 3 years old. Like there's a lot of baseball to be played, so that story's not finished yet. But I'm excited to hear some other things are in the works. And like you said, people may not see it on the surface, but there's stuff going on behind the scenes that just hasn't. It's that the final production isn't there yet, but that doesn't mean that it's not working towards that goal. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that and that sort of thing. What your Paramount set, you numbered the base cards, which I thought was really cool. We've seen that before, but not very often. So I think that's sort of refreshing. What was the thought process with that product and numbering of the base cards?
We wanted to take an ambitious swing. We thought, we thought we needed to try something ambitious, something a little bit outside the comfort zone. I think we did a lot of things really well on that product. I think we did a lot of things adequately. I think we could have done it better. And I think when we do it again, it will be light years better. We look at women's soccer, women's trading cards are an emerging kind of segment of the market. There's a lot of people that still don't believe in the hype. We think that every day, 1, 2, 3, maybe 1,000, maybe 5,000 new collectors get that first women's card into their collection. So we know that everyone likes, numbered, limited stuff, which we don't love all the time. We do a lot of stuff in our flagship product that is limited but not numbered. Then we do number some stuff. So we just wanted to try something a little bit more elevated, a little bit weird. We went for, instead of that Optichrome higher end product, we wanted to try something that was uniquely Parkside. We went with this kind of heavy linen stock paper, which we thought was gorgeous. And we've seen some PSA 10s out there in the marketplace and in collectors' collections. And when I see them as a PSA 10, they are every bit as gorgeous as we envisioned them to be. The 7s and the ones that are a little bit off-centered makes me, I weep a bit. But, we learned a lot making that product. And I think when we revisit that it's going to be infinitely better.
How hands-on are you as far as with the printing process, the design and that sort of thing? And you mentioned Eric as a partner. Do you guys kind of think along the same lines, or do you ever have like a little push and pull or tug of war on a topic or decision?
We're of one mind with two completely different opinions about everything. So we know the end goal is good product. We know the end goal is to captivate and satisfy fans and the licensors. So we get into some heated debates over stuff because we both have pretty strong opinions of the way things should look. And the ultimate reality is that we have moments where we act like a married couple. And we can't leave the office if we're mad or frustrated or haven't finalized a decision or a direction towards a decision, because then no one's benefiting from it. So I think what you have is a really good yin and yang sort of functioning with at the top level. And then the reality is we've only hired like geniuses. We tend to work with people far smarter than us, which I think is what everyone should ultimately endeavor to do. Printing has been up and down, but we found a ridiculously good printer now. It's really funny. So it was our original printer, but they had some technical capacity, shortcomings, if you will. So we went and migrated to a bigger printer who necessitated us finding another printer, and our original printer by then had gotten all of the things that they didn't have. And it was a beautiful reunion, and I'm overjoyed by it.
That's cool. And, it's refreshing to hear you say, be honest and say, hey, we don't always see exactly the same way, but we figure it out. And at the end of the day, we move on, and otherwise no one doesn't help anybody, including obviously the consumer who you're worried about the most. And even saying, hey, we've made mistakes. Like that was great, but I would do this maybe different next time. A lot of people don't like to admit things like that. So I appreciate, you saying that and being very candid about that. You mentioned, it's a big hobby pet peeve, right? The event worn relics, and you like myself and countless others are not big fans of that. What's as a collector, aside from Parkside, what's another hobby sort of pet peeve that you're not fond of that sort of gets you gal riled up?
Oh golly, that's a tough one. I don't know that anything frustrates me really, because especially now, goodness, it's really easy to understand why so many things are done the way they're done. I can see it. It's like the biggest, I think years ago, sticker autographs. Oh, now I'm like, dude, it makes all the sense in the world. I know people aren't always in love with them, but it does enable you to kind of do two things that are really important. A, secure signatures long ahead of product. B, guarantee that the card, when you put it into a pack, is in immaculate condition. Those are two really big, important things. So probably my biggest hobby pet peeves is gatekeeping. And that's not on the industry side, although I got a helicopter. There might be some that are on the industry side that are gatekeepers, but this is a children's hobby, and we're all, when we're participating in it, we're reliving childhood moments. I mean, we pick up a card from when we're a little kid, and it takes us there. We're there. It is time travel in a 2.5 by 3.5 inch cardboard form. And I'm not going to name any names, but there's a store that's close to me, not Burbank Sports Cards and not the Bullpen. And we walked in there one day, and the guy told me flat out he doesn't like kids coming into the store. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, I don't even understand that logic. That would be my biggest gripe. I do think some pump and dump stuff happens elsewhere too, but I'm certainly not gonna get any more gray hair in my beard stressing over any of that stuff. We don't think about the secondary market that much. We know it's there. We like to look at it sometimes and go, oh my goodness. But we're manufacturing for that moment of opening a card pack and getting your favorite player. And if you get an autograph or you get a really cool looking card of that player, that moment of joy, maybe that transcends. Maybe it's a day of joy. Maybe it's a week. That's what we're here for. And it's awesome because people lovingly tell us about those moments of joy. They share them on social media. We get emails about them. My favorite emails in the world, man, I got to tell you, dads, I'm sharing the hobby I love with my daughter. I melt when I get those emails because that's how we started.
Yeah, and very important, going back to that store with not fond of kids, right? They're the future of this hobby. Like, I hate to say it, but none of us are living forever. We need that next generation to carry the torch forward. I've said that, Matt, more times than I can count on my hands and feet on this show, and they're important. And someone once told me, like, you don't have to be a kid to get started in the hobby. You can start later, and it's true. I'm not debating that, but I think I think when you start in the hobby as a kid, you're more likely probably to stick with it or come back to it and stick with it than the other way around. I firmly believe that, and I do believe it's important. Like you said, for that 86 Topps pack with Ripken in it for you. For me, it was a 79 Topps pack with Reggie being a New York City kid at the time. And like you said, you can go back. I can't remember what I ate for dinner last night, but I remember that day I pulled that Reggie, like the fourth or fifth card in. So, yeah, it is. Time Machine is real in those terms. And, and hearing, a father and daughter sharing the greatest hobby in the world, as Dr. Beckett calls it, it should warm everybody's heart if you love and are passionate about the hobby. And I think that's what it's all about. And in talking to you here for the first time, I can tell you have the consumer's best interest in mind, and that's where it's gotta start. And that's sort of my fear for what's going on in the bigger part of the hobby. And I hope my fears are just fears and not reality, but time will tell. But we know when it comes to Parkside. Your standards are in the right place, and your heart and mind is in the right place. So, again, I know you're busy. I appreciate you making some time. I want to give you here before we wrap up. Give out your website, any social, where people can find out what you're doing, what's coming up, and all that good stuff.
Parksidecards.com, and then pretty much all of our socials are Parkside Cards. The @ symbol or whatever it is. Yeah, man, listen, this is a gift. You doing this is an absolute gift to me, to Parkside, to what we're trying to do. It's just such a fantastic opportunity to come and tell people what we're doing, and tell somebody that's involved in the hobby that can even understand anything of what I'm talking about. All my LA friends out here, they've stopped asking me how work is and what I'm doing, because they don't understand it. A few of them are starting to understand it. I got a buddy that just had his kid play their first AYSO youth soccer games, and I was like, "Here you go, give him a pack of these." And it's a boy, and he was like, "I know Megan Rapinoe," and made him overjoyed. So it's awesome that you would invite me to talk about Parkside, and I appreciate you. And hopefully this will be the first of a few times we get to do this.
Yeah, no doubt. This is not, it's not a one-hit wonder by any mean. You guys are welcome. Any something new coming out, you want to get the word out there. Open door there, Matt. You're doing things the right way, and I think that's the thing. When you see something good in the hobby, you want to highlight that and talk about it. We hear sometimes we hear just the bad stuff, or maybe, certain people enjoy that maybe more than you should. But I try to accentuate the good side of the hobby, the positive stuff, and you check those boxes as well as Parkside. So easy to do. So I'm not going to take any credit. Other than just reaching out and say, hey, let's talk about this, and I'm glad you did. And like I said, as far as I'm concerned, as long as you come back, we'll have you back. So
we'll do it again then, definitely.
All right. Well, continued success, Matt. Look forward to what's coming, eventually from the brand, and again, continued success.
Thank you so very much, man. Have a great evening, and to everybody that listens, thanks. Appreciate you.
Glad Matt made some time for the show, and that's a guy that's got his priorities in order, and being a card manufacturer, the women's side of sports is very important to him as a girl dad, as he said, and that's great, and they're doing some great things. They put the customer first. I think you could hear that in what he said. We're going to get a few final words in and wrap up the show tonight.
Time for our Hobby is the People Announcer of the Week.
Hello, we are
Grant, Rory, Annie,
and we are
Lakeside Collectibles.
Please remember,
the hobby is the people.
If you'd like to be the Hobby is the People Announcer of the Week, do a WAV or MP3 file and send it to sportscardnationpc@gmail.com.
That's a wrap for this week. Huge thanks to you, the listeners out there, because without you, there is no us. If you like the show, we truly appreciate positive reviews. Big ups to our great guests who drive the show and our awesome sponsors who make it all possible. Sports Card Nation will be back next week, but don't forget to catch either Hobby Quick Hits or Card Mentions coming up on Monday. I'll leave you with this. How do we change the world? One random act of kindness at a time. Remember, the hobby is the people.
For more than 30 years, Robert Edward Auctions has been the nation's premier auction house, specializing in sports memorabilia and trading cards. With significant experience and expertise in all major sport, non-sport, and Americana collectibles, REA has helped clients achieve record-breaking prices for their items and has done so with a reputation for integrity and transparency. By actively partnering with collectors and enthusiasts throughout the entire process, REA has created the hobby's most trusted forum for selling high-quality collectibles. Go to robertedwardauctions.com for more information on how to buy or sell in their next auction. For nearly 50 years, Sports Collectors Digest has been the voice of the hobby, bringing you comprehensive coverage of the sports collectible industry. From industry news, auction results, market analysis, and in-depth stories about collectors and their collections, Sports Collectors Digest has everything you need to know about the hobby. SCD is also your leading source for listings of sports collectible dealers, card shops, card shows, and the latest from the industry's top companies. To check out all the latest news or to subscribe to the hobby's oldest magazine, visit sportscollectorsdigest.com or call 1-800-829-5561.